Hello everyone, this is Mara the Reading Hedgehog with my March 2017 reading wrap-up. So I bet you guys never thought this was coming because it's taken me forever to record it. I've been busy. But yes, I've got a March reading wrap-up because I read some books in March that I've got to mention, both in a good way and in a bad way. But first, some statistics. So in March I read a total of 7 books. And a total number of pages was 3,043 pages. Out of the 7 books I read, 4 of them were 5 out of 5 star reviews, 2 were 4 out of 5, and 1 out of 5, which is the one I'm really eager to talk about. But we do things in order here, and my computer is gonna fall. So anyway, let's just jump into this. So the first book I read in March was Spindle by E.K. Johnston. This is kind of a companion novel to her other book, A Thousand Nights, which is a retelling of Arabian Nights. But this is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but it takes place in the same world hundreds of years after the events of A Thousand Nights. And this book I gave 5 out of 5 stars because, like the first one, it was gorgeously written. I mean, E.K. Johnston is one of my new favorite authors. She just has an amazing, amazing writing style. And as far as retellings of Sleeping Beauty go, this was one of the most unique and most wonderful ones I've ever read. And I loved how well it actually fit into the world that she set it in. And I also really liked that this was very... This book very much spoke to people who, I guess, for lack of a better word, are crafters. They like to make things. They like to spin or weave or paint or whatever. They like to do things. You know those people, you know, you never see them without something in their hands, no matter what. They're always doing something. And that plays a very big part in this, because part of the curse that Sleeping Beauty is under, it also curses the rest of people in her kingdom, where they can't do their craft, they can't spin or weave, otherwise they fall sick. And at the same time, they can't help themselves because it's their life, that's what they do. They can't stand not doing anything. And I really understand that, because I've always got to have something. I always got to be doing something with my hands. I've got to. So 5 out of 5 for Spindle by E.K. Johnston. This was an amazing, amazing retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and just beautiful. I would love her to put more retellings in this world. It's really good. I need to find a place to set my books down. There we go. After that, I picked up Well of Witches by J.A. White. This is the 3rd book in the Thickety series, which it's actually going to have 4. And this was also the buddy read that I did with my friend Hazel, whose channel I will link down below. I can't say too much about it, obviously, because it's the 3rd book in a series, but pretty much this picks up where the 2nd Thickety book left off, with our protagonists, Kara and Taff, her brother, are going to stop the bad person, who I can't reveal because it's kind of a surprise of who the bad person actually is. I gave this... What I give it? I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Really, really enjoyed it. This whole series is just amazing. And for a middle grade series, it is freaking creepy. Super, super creepy. I haven't read many books creepier than this one. But this one probably, maybe, possibly is my favorite right after the first one, because the world that they end up going to, it kind of reminded me of Mirror Mask. Just it had that feel about it. It was really, really cool. And we do actually get to see the quote-unquote outside world in this. They finally get to see it. And I was expecting to be a little disappointed because I figured that it's probably like modern times, and the place that the island they lived on was, you know, the secluded area. And I'm not going to ruin it, but the author pulled it off really well, and it was really, really cool. I was not disappointed. 4 out of 5. I think I already said that. After that, this, well, you'll see. After that, I read The Tin in a Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte, and this book I've actually been reading throughout. I think I started it in February, and I finished it in March, but I read the majority of it in March, pretty sure. This is a classic, obviously, written by the youngest Bronte sister, and this is essentially a criticism of people who are not of high moral standing whatsoever. It follows our protagonist, whose name I'm totally forgetting, and he lives in kind of this quiet, typical country English side, and the local house, Wildfell Hall, is suddenly let to this mysterious young widow with a son. And the entire community starts buzzing and wondering what her true story is, because she obviously is hiding a lot of things. And it kind of tells her story and how she came to be where she is. And I gave this 5 out of 5, I believe. Yes, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was amazing. Anne Bronte and I saw the world very similarly. This is a very fascinating read, and it's also very, very kind of hard to read because it's very scathing, very brutal. She does not nice criticizing anyone, and she hits all of the classic vices and just bad moral character and stuff in this, and I just loved it, and it absolutely is a cautionary tale. I personally think that all of the Bronte sisters novels actually are cautionary tales, like Wuthering Heights, cautionary tale against selfish love, and others, and this one totally is about, you know, what happens when you essentially marry someone that isn't steady of character, and yeah, it's a cautionary tale against a lot of things, but I really, really enjoyed it, and Anne Bronte has a very, very, very nice writing style, very brutal, honest writing style, but it's really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. After that, oddly enough, I picked up Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This was an impromptu buddy read with Hazel and I. Neither of us planned for it to be a buddy read, but she texted me about it, complaining about it, and so I decided to pick it up the very next day. I read this in one day, but not for a good reason. This is my 1 out of 5 star read, and this essentially is a story about a girl named Liesel who lives in kind of a German country village. Her father used to be a court composer. It's never specifically said what time period this is, but sometime after Mozart, but before Beethoven is what I got. Anyway, Liesel is the secretly gifted, completely overlooked eldest daughter, actually, bizarrely enough, while her brother is the violinist protege and her sister is the town flirt, essentially, the town slut. And her sister ends up being kidnapped by the Goblin King, and Liesel takes her dear sweet time in going to retrieve said sister, but she eventually gets around to it, and then the story devolves into a romance, if you want to call it that. This is, I don't know if it's intentional, but this is essentially a retelling of the movie Labyrinth, along with a bunch of other retellings of various stories about goblins. The only good thing I have to say about this book is the goblins are done right. The goblins are proper goblins. They're not Lord of the Rings goblins or Hobbit goblins. They're proper goblins. That's where my good things end. This could have been such a good book. It had everything. I mean, it had the classical music, it had the setting, it had the ambiance. But Liesel, our protagonist, can't stop going on about how unpretty she is and how no one appreciates her and how lonely she is and how ignored she is. And, like, you know, a character can be aware of that stuff. Like, they can feel unpretty and they could wish to be prettier and stuff, but you have to be really careful with that because it can come across as extremely, extremely whiny and self-pitying and woe is me. Liesel fell into that category. She was so annoying. I really did not like her. She was, I did not like her. And then we have the Goblin King, who is not a spoiler because it's in the synopsis. He's the love interest and the villain, kind of. He's got this very disturbing obsession with Liesel, and it's supposed to be romantic, and this story, I think, is supposed to be ultimately about a romance that starts out as kind of selfish, but turns into something beautiful. I didn't get that. Quite honestly, the only thing I got out of this book was if you need self-evaluation, find it through having sex with some guy who's obsessed with you. Seriously, that is all I got out of this book. And it also made classical music really dirty. This book is definitely for older teens, new adult. It has a lot of moments, but in general, it was quite honestly one of the creepiest books I've read in terms of disturbing romances in a long time, if ever. I mean, the romance in this is very creepy. It's very, very creepy. The Goblin King is emotionally abusive. Liesel is very emotionally abusive. I actually felt sorry for the Goblin King because she so emotionally abused him, and whenever she wanted to sleep with him, but he would push her away for vague reasons, she would get violent and upset, and yeah, for once, I felt sorry for the guy, and it's kind of like, oh, she's the one that's actually being very abusive. But they were both. The romance is just no, and there was just stuff in this that didn't make sense. The ending made no sense. It just, this was a bad book. It was bad. I'd have to do a whole video on how bad it is. And if you guys want to hear me rant more about it, I will more than happily do it. Just comment, and I will do a full-length review on this book. But 1 out of 5 stars. I had such high hopes for it, but oh, it was fell down in so many places, unfortunately. But I find it ironic I read that after Tin Wildfell Hall, which is all about what happens when you have relationships like that. So, after that book, I picked up Dorothy Must Die Stories Volume 2 by Daniel Page, which is the second novella collection in the Dorothy Must Die series. And I gave this 5 out of 5. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. And this one tells the story of the Tin Woodman, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, and essentially how they came from being what they were when Dorothy first met them, you know, the versions that we know, to how they are in this series with Amy Gum. And this so far, I've only read, you know, this one and the first one, and I'm working my way through the third one as we speak. This one was the best, because it was so creepy. Especially the story about the Tin Woodman. It's so creepy. This was a great collection. It was awesome, and I loved it, and I will never see these characters the same ever again. So 5 out of 5 for Dorothy Must Die Stories Volume 2. It was really good. After that, I felt like reading something scary in the middle of March for some reason. Just felt like it. So I picked up The Whispering Skull by Jonathan Stroud. I almost said Lockwood. That's the series. The Whispering Skull by Jonathan Stroud, which is the second book in the Lockwood & Co. series, and this essentially picks up where the Screaming Staircase left off, with Lockwood & Co. actually having a pretty good reputation now. You know, they're getting better contracts since they solved the Screaming Staircase mystery, but now they're faced with a even bigger mystery that actually revolves around this skull in a jar that we are introduced to in the first one. And I'm pretty sure I gave this 5 out of 5. If I didn't, I should have. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I love everything about it. Jonathan Stroud has a great writing style. He's British, obviously, so he's brilliant. And the world is just, I love the world in it. I love the world that he's built around everything that happens in this, and I love all of the characters. All the characters are so great. I love their dynamics. Lockwood especially, and Lucy, and I love them all. And the mysteries are really great, and these are freaking creepy. This is freaking scary. And the skull, I loved the skull so much. It was a beautiful character. So yeah, I loved it. I love this series so much. I forgot how much I loved it until I picked this one up, and it's wonderful. I love it. I can't wait to see what happens next. Finally, the last book I read in March is Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is the novella collection for her Luna Chronicles series, and I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I had mixed feelings about it. Novella collections are always really hard to kind of decide how to rate them, because usually it seems like you like some of them and then others you don't like so much. This kind of fell in that category. I actually really liked a lot of the first novellas. That last one, though, about Scarlett's wedding, It kind of pissed me off. Most of it could have been prologue in winter, or not prologue, an epilogue in winter, and it wasn't, and it really annoys me. But overall, 4 out of 5 stars, 4 stars above. It was really good, and it was really fun seeing the backstory of a lot of the characters, even, you know, characters that are actually fairly small characters in the actual series. It was very interesting to see. So those are all the books I read in March, and sorry my reviews were kind of all scattered and stuff. That's why it's been taking me so long to record this. But I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. As usual, questions or just want to say hi, leave comments down below, and I will see you around with my next video. Bye!